Part 100. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 991. Chapter 991 Nangong Luo's injury. After so many years, Gu Jinsi was finally willing to express his attitude towards Gong Qinli's pursuit. Don't waste your time on me. How can you say it's a waste? You're all hurting because of me. That's not what I'm talking about. He was talking about feelings. Hearing this sentence, Gong Qinli's expression became slightly serious. Doing something that you think is meaningful is not a waste. Gu Jinsi thinks, that would be very boring. Gong Qinli retorted plausibly, I have the final say whether it means something or not. After all, I am the one who pays. Gu Jinsi glanced at her and then looked away, and said 4 words meaningfully, can't understand. These words were so strange that even Gong Qinli couldn't help but said, Dr. Gu, you see that you have been single for so many years and haven't found a girlfriend. Do you really dislike women? Or do you think you haven't found your destined love? Gu Jinsi told her coldly, I don't care about love or love. Gong Qinli chuckled and replied from a tricky angle, that means you haven't met anyone who makes your heart beat. As long as she doesn't like others, she has a chance. Dr. Gu, look at who is as infatuated as me. He has been pursuing me for many years and is still full of fighting spirit. If you say you don't consider me, you will soon regret it for the rest of your life. Gong Qinli tried to tease her, but Gu Jinsi, who was so cold, would not take the bait at all. Instead, he bluntly retorted her with 2 words, no. I won't regret it, because I don't like it and I'm not tempted. Gong Qinli didn't feel sad after hearing this, but she still felt a slight sense of loss in her heart, probably because she couldn't get what she asked for. But she will not be depressed about one thing. At most, she will be sad and regain her full fighting spirit in no more than 10 seconds. Dr. Gu, I'm still young and have plenty of time. As long as you don't have someone you like, it means I always have a chance. She winked at him mischievously, her smart look full of energy. Gu Jinsi suddenly felt that he saw a kind of vitality in such an energetic girl that he could not possibly have. It is the feeling of being active in the bright sunshine and always shining, which makes people feel warm and yearning. Gu Jinsi pressed his forehead with one hand and sighed slightly. How could he have such a strange idea? I'm really confused. While the doctor was applying medicine to Gu Jinsi, Gong Qinli stood outside and received a call from Nangong Luo. Nangong Luo's first sentence was to ask, how is brother Gu doing over there? I've seen it. It's nothing serious. I just got a little red after being hit. Gu Jinsi loves face. I told you quietly. Lu Li, I'm injured too, why don't you come to care about me? Are you injured? How are you injured? Don't make trouble for me. When I'm done, I'll treat you to dinner later. Really, there is such a good thing, then I should look forward to your treat. Tisk, look at you like this. When I finish the job, I'll ask you wherever you point me, Gong Qinli said ruthlessly, which shows that she is very determined to do it. Hiss, Nangong Luo took a breath of cold air. Gong Qinli didn't hear clearly and hung up the phone after saying a few words. Nangong Luo put the phone away, and a doctor in a white coat next to him was disinfecting and applying medicine to his bleeding wound. Young man, are you calling your girlfriend? No. Feel sorry for me, Luo Dian, ouch. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 992. Chapter 992 The Most Beautiful Bride. Hurry up, don't waste any time. Miss, don't worry, the wedding is still in 2 hours. There are still 2 hours left, speed up, I can't wait to fly over. Gong Qinli was very miserable. She obviously set the alarm clock yesterday, but by chance, the alarm clock broke, causing her to wake up an hour and a half later than the time she set in her heart. She was going to the bride's place to change clothes and put on makeup. Gong Qinli was anxious when she rushed there. While in the car, she sent a message to Nangang Luo, "Are you here? Still early. That's good." Seeing Nangang Luo's reply, Gong Qinli felt relieved. But just when she breathed a sigh of relief, she saw the next sentence from Nangang Luo, "I'm not like you women, who dress up for 2 or 3 hours. I wash my hair, comb my clothes, and change my clothes." Minutes passed. Gong Qinli's heart felt like a husky. Hurrying the driver to speed up, but not exceeding the speed limit, he finally found the preparation room next to the wedding. The champagne-colored wedding skirt is spread out on the stall, forming a fan-shaped arc. The bride in the wedding dress is sitting facing the dressing mirror, and the stylist standing behind her is doing her hair. This is almost the last step. The only thing Ye could see was Gong Qinli coming in a hurry through the reflection of the mirror. Laughing lightly, he called her to change clothes. "Lu Li, you're late. Go to the dressing room and change clothes, room B." "Okay, I'll tell you when I get it done." Knowing that time was tight, Gong Qinli didn't say any more nonsense. "Go to the dressing room B to change into the bridesmaid's dress, sit next to her and let the stylist start her makeup. The only thing I'm sorry about is that my alarm clock is broken and I'm late." "It doesn't matter, I'm just teasing you. There are still nearly 2 hours left, so there is no extra time. You've got it all done. It's still a while. The bride's makeup should be exquisite and beautiful, while the bridesmaid's makeup should be a little simpler, so as not to steal the spotlight from the couple." But even the stylist lamented that the bridesmaid and the bride were two completely different beauties, and those who came to the wedding today were in for a treat. "We have done makeup on many brides, and to be honest, this is the first time I have seen such a stunning bride and bridesmaid." The stylist knew how to speak, and of course he spoke the truth from the bottom of his heart. Ye Weiwei kept a gentle smile on his face, which could be seen in the mirror, as if he was like a fairy in a fantasy world, so beautiful that he couldn't be compared. Isn't it said that every woman is the most beautiful in the world on the day she puts on her wedding dress? She is neither modest nor arrogant. She is at a special balance point in the middle, which is unique. By the time Ye Weiwei's hairstyle was done, Gong Qinli's side was almost finished. Ye Weiwei sat quietly in her seat, while Gong Qinli stood up almost as soon as she finished it, walked to Ye Weiwei, and turned to look at her appearance today. "It's so beautiful, the only thing you can do is stand up and take a look." Ye Weiwei stood up at her request, walked a few steps forward to the full-length mirror, and turned sideways to Gong Qinli. Gong Qinli was so surprised that she said wow and praised her generously. "Baby, you are so beautiful today. The bulging lower abdomen can be clearly seen from the side, but the curve of the body behind is still graceful." Appreciating a person's beauty is not just about a slim figure and a slim waist. She is holding her lower abdomen with her hands. What others see is happiness. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 993. Chapter 993 Rich Wedding. 1. Red envelope smashes the door. The BGM of the wedding march is looped at the wedding scene. The sound is very soft and will not disturb the guests attending the wedding. It can also gradually create a warm and romantic atmosphere. But there was trouble on the bride's side. Mr. Chiao brought his son and daughter-in-law and his family, and of course Chiao Yu came too. Mr. Chiao bought a house in City S as a wedding gift to Ye Weiwei. It had been arranged a long time ago, and today it is regarded as Chiao's house. If he wanted to hold a wedding, Yezikan had to come to Chiao's house to meet the bride in person with people and money. Hey, if you want to take away the bride, you have to clear the level. The red envelope opened the door to ask for luck. Yezikan was generous, and even Nangong Luo was very generous. There is absolutely no shortage of money. Each red envelope is specially brought in a box by someone, and it weighs in the hand. Gong Qinli has already searched on the internet for many ways to present problems to the groom at weddings, but every time she mentioned one, people outside would take out thick wallets and put them inside, leaving those who could solve the problem speechless. Word. To how. The money was also spent, but before anyone could collect it, Nangong Luo, who had a lively personality, got into a fight with Gong Qinli. The man with short hands, let us see the bride. Gong Qinli hesitated, and wanted to set up a final difficulty. Don't worry, as long as you pass the last level, I will let you in. That's okay, you ask. Ahem. Gong Qinli coughed twice deliberately, as if she was deep in thought. Nangong Luo glanced at most of the red envelopes in the box, and said to Yezikin next to him, Boss, if you solve the last problem, you can see the bride. Gong Qinli said, listen carefully, I give her something. In the middle of Gong Qinli's words, Yezikin suddenly interrupted her problem with this sentence. I saw a person holding a large square box in front of Gong Qinli. The conspicuous logo on it blinded Gong Qinli. Unexpectedly, he reached out his hand to touch it, but Nangong Luo blocked it and asked instead of Yezikin, what's the last question? Gong Qinli looked up, with a bright smile on her face, the last question above does not exist. You're smart, let it go. That logo is the logo of her favorite riding brand. Needless to say, its workmanship is exquisite. The design is unique in the world and cannot be matched by any other brand. The groom has spent a lot of money, how can she still stand in the way? It is natural to open the door and let people go. They finally saw the bride, sitting quietly on the bed. Her elegant temperament and beautiful appearance were deeply attracted to her. Jojo. In such a solemn occasion, he naturally did not use the nickname between the two of them. But in the sentence Chiao Chiao, everyone present could hear how much tenderness and sweetness it contained. Ye Wei almost stood up when she saw Yezikin, but Yuan Ran quickly held her down with quick eyes and hands. You are indeed very powerful for getting in so quickly, but it is not that simple to pick up the bride. How can it be so cheap to pick up the bride after she has passed the gatekeeping stage of the bridesmaid? As the second level approached, the groom, who had already read various guides on Baidu, expressed his calmness. Will he tell these people that as early as half a month ago, he had written down all the procedures of the wedding, especially the endless difficulties and strategies when welcoming the bride? Listen up, the second level is. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 994. Chapter 994 Wedding of a Wealthy Family, 2, A Happy Marriage for 100 Years. The bride hides her shoes. If the groom can find them, he can take the bride away. Hiding shoes is a very common aspect in weddings, with many different meanings and many beautiful legends. It is said that a long time ago, a beautiful princess lost her beloved glass slipper. The king posted a royal notice for people to find the princess's glass slipper. If the woman finds it, she will be given thousands of jewels. If the man can find it, the princess will be betrothed to that person. The prince of a neighboring country unveiled the royal list, found the princess's crystal slipper and presented it with both hands, and forged a beautiful marriage with the princess. Now, they also hide the bride's shoes to get a good omen. Start looking for shoes. The groom and the groomsman move together. It's just that I searched through the tricky angles mentioned in the guide from inside to out but couldn't find them. She searched through the bride's wedding dress, wardrobe, and clothes under the bed. Finally, Yezikin looked up and saw the balloon on the ceiling. It is written in the guide that someone hid shoes on the top and covered it with balloons. Bring me a stick. There are quite a lot of balloons in this room. After opening them one by one, nothing was found. They're really hiding it, boss. They're just trying to make things difficult. What can we do? You will always find it? Yezikin still looked calm, as if he had a winning ticket. Nangong Luo gave him a thumbs up. If it wasn't for the wrong occasion, he really wanted to shout 666. Yezikin's eyes fell on Ye Weiwei. Ye Weiwei was looking at him and winking at him, he looked so cute. The only thing Ye knew was that Yezikin was asking her. This is it? She could only shake her head. Because Gong Qinli didn't tell her where to hide it when she took it to hide it. Nangong Luo scratched his hair in annoyance. Boss, you said there are only a few things in the room. My brothers have searched all over, but they can't find it. Can't find it, it means it's not in the room. No, if you hide the shoes instead of hiding them in the room, wouldn't that mean that we can't find them on purpose? Use your brain more. Yezikin reminded him and calmly observed everyone's expressions. Gong Qinli was the one who hid the shoes, so of course she would not pass on information to them, and her accomplice Yuan Ran was also very calm, and there was no valuable information visible on her face. As for the others, they were at a loss. Yezikin exited the bride's door and walked outside. He saw Mr. Chiao sitting on the high seat, waiting for the bride and groom to say goodbye after a while. Mr. Chiao's adopted son and daughter-in-law are sitting next to him, which is equivalent to Chiao Lian's parents. Yezikin walked over first and bowed to show respect to these elders. His eyes fell on the seat next to Mr. Chiao. Found it? Mr. Chiao handed the bride's shoes to him with his own hands, which meant that the daughter of the Chiao family was getting married and was about to become someone else's daughter-in-law. My granddaughter, I leave it to you. Grandpa, please rest assured, I will do my best to make Chiao safe and happy throughout his life. Yezikin, who got the glass slippers, took her out of the boudoir and put them on for her personally. This meant that the bride would not take away any dust from her parents' family when she left home, nor would it affect her wealth. Mr. Chiao was also proud all his life. When Yezikin and Ye Wei both knelt down to say goodbye, the old man quietly wiped his eyes. Good boy. Because of their pregnancy, they were only allowed to kneel for a moment before helping the person up. Mr. Chiao had completely let go of his grudge against Yezikin and hoped that the newlyweds would be together for a long time. Grandpa, please believe me, Chiao will definitely be happy. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 995. Chapter 995 Nangong Luo proposes marriage. Their wedding was for the fulfillment of dreams and blessings, and they did not need to follow rigid rules every step of the way. Mrs. Ye was considerate of the pregnant Ye Wei and directly asked Yezikin to take her to the wedding venue. The wedding venue was full of guests, and those who could come here were all related to the Ye family or prominent figures. Their wedding was not broadcast live to the media, but they hired a professional photographer to take photos of the entire event. The host came to the stage to deliver a speech, and the bride and groom appeared on the stage under the eyes of everyone who was looking forward to it. For them, the wedding vows were not just what they said, but what they had already done. Consensus, whether poor or rich, will always accompany you until you grow old. When the changing music sounds, the bridesmaid and the best man present the rings. Gong Qinli glanced at Nangong Luo. He seemed to be hiding something? But there was no time to explore. The two presented the bride's ring, and the bride and groom kissed affectionately amidst everyone's cheers. Speeches from loved ones, the ceremony is done. The whole audience applauded continuously to express their blessing to the newlyweds. Today, there is another interesting part, that is, our most beautiful and happiest bride will pass the bouquet in her hand to the next lucky person. Still holding flowers. Gong Qinli pulled Yuan Ran together, and Yuan Ran shook his head at her. Feel sorry. It doesn't matter, just go ahead and hope you can grab it. Gong Qinli raised a smile and nodded. From the corner of her eye, she caught sight of the person behind Yuan Ran. She approached Yuan Ran and whispered a few words, Ayn Rand doesn't need to hold a bouquet. Look back at the person behind you. After hearing her words, Ayn Rand looked back slightly and saw Baya leaning against the pillar at the back. She knew who his eyes were on without even looking at each other. In the area where the bouquets are thrown, the unmarried girls move forward and stand close to the bride, while everyone else comes last. Thank you for coming to my wedding. I hope you will all be the next lucky ones. Ye Wei simply said a few words and turned his back to them. 3, 2, 1. She turned her back to everyone, raised her hand and threw the bouquet high into the air, and the girls behind her reached out to catch it. Some people are just pretending, while others really like this part and want to get a good sign. The bouquet is mine. Among the girls present, who is as nimble as Gongkin Li? With one leap and stretch of her hand, she grabbed the bouquet from a high place, causing the others to sigh in disappointment. I grabbed it. Ye Wei walked down from the stage, stood in front of Gongkin Li, and said mysteriously, "Bless you, Li Yulai." This was originally a normal blessing, but the only look in Gongkin Li's eyes that night had a special meaning. The big-hearted Gongkin Li didn't notice it yet. She said this to Ye Wei, and for a moment she didn't notice that the people on the red carpet behind her were gradually opening up. Gongkin Li. Suddenly she heard someone calling her name, and Gongkin Li, who was holding a bouquet of flowers, turned around. Nangong Luo was the only one left on the red carpet facing her. Nangong Luo walked towards her with a bouquet of flowers in his hand. Seeing that familiar face, Gongkin Li seemed to suddenly realize something and took a step back unconsciously. But this time, Nangong Luo did not stop or check out, and the smile on his face remained. He walked to Gongkin Li without hesitation and knelt down on one knee. "Can you give me a chance to take care of you and be my girlfriend?" End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 996. Chapter 996. Goodbye, my princess Li Yulai. Can you give me a chance to take care of you and be my girlfriend? Etc. Seeing Nangong Luo holding flowers in his hands and kneeling on one knee in front of him, it seemed like a man proposing to his beloved woman. There was no one on the red carpet, but many people gathered around to watch. Gongkin Li stretched out a hand to block her face. "What, today is the only wedding, even if you want to play tricks, it's not now." Gongkin Li refused to believe it, or it could be said that she did not dare to involve her and Nangong Luo in terms of love, so she resisted everything she did. Nangong Luo was determined. "Lu Li, do you think I would make a joke about something like this? I am confessing to you. We have known each other for many years, and we have enough tacit understanding when doing things on weekdays, but there is only one thing that you never knew about. Today, I will use this happy wedding to express my love to my beloved girl. If you are willing, please accept this bouquet of flowers. The delicate roses represent love. Accept it, she will immediately have a new title, that is, Nangong Luo's girlfriend." But all this happened so suddenly. Normally, Gongkin Li would have thought he was joking. Now she saw that he didn't look like he was joking. The look in those bright eyes was so serious, and there was a kind of emotion that she had never seriously discerned. Gongkin Li shook her head and took 2 steps back. Just as she was about to be pushed to the edge of the stairs, Ye Wei came a little closer and pulled her with his hand. Gongkin Li realized that she seemed to have lost her soul just now. He opened his mouth slightly, and the almost whispering voice could only be heard by himself and Ye beside him. Gongkin Li asked, "Is he forcing me?" Ye Wei told her, "No, he is not forcing you, he is forcing himself." The relationship between the two of them has not been explained clearly, but Nangong Luo can actually see it clearly. Watching her wholeheartedly and caring at any time and anywhere is obviously a very close relationship. But it was precisely because he was so close that he noticed everything Gong Qinli did. Nangong Luo probably still had some confidence in his heart, knowing that he would be rejected, but he was unwilling to do so and wanted to take a gamble at this time. He was very happy when he won, but when he lost. If you lose, it means learning to let go. Many people in this world are persistent, but their identities may not allow them to do so. If he loses, he is forcing himself and has to give up. Lu Li, we used to like to joke around, but what I, Nangong Luo, said today was absolutely not false. I am confessing to you, sincerely. I do not believe. Li Yulai, you just need to answer whether you are willing or not. If you are willing, just step forward. If not, he really couldn't say it. But Gong Qinli didn't come forward for a long time. Her eyes wandered around and had nowhere to rest. Finally, her eyes moved slightly forward and settled on a certain place. Looking for her gaze, Nangong Luo turned his head slightly and saw the man standing at the back, standing out from the crowd. Nangong Luo looked away, chuckled coolly, lowered his head and sighed. He stood up immediately and hugged the person when he was not prepared. But after just a hug, he let go, holding the flower in one hand and putting his other hand on Gong Qinli's shoulder. He only said one sentence to her. Goodbye, my Princess Li Yulai. Some feelings can be protected until the end without persistence. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 997. Chapter 997. Li Yulai, where is your heart? Nangong Luo held the bouquet of flowers that he had not sent out, passed her by with neither humility nor condescension, and left here. Gong Qinli's mind was in a mess, as if it was empty and filled with something. She turned around and looked at Nangong Luo's back. She had never felt for a moment that slender and straight back was a bit unfamiliar. The boy who was kind to her and would argue with her has grown into a mature, steady, and personable man without even realizing it. Of course, that's just an interlude. The bridesmaid accompanied the bride to change her outfit, and by this time the guests had already sat down. The newlyweds should come out to toast the guests, and naturally all the wine fell into Yezikin's mouth. Congratulations, Mr. Chen, and I wish you and your wife a happy marriage for 100 years. Congratulations, we will have to drink the full moon wine when the baby in Madame Yes belly is born. Ha ha ha. The guests said flattering words, and of course many of them were blessings from the bottom of their hearts. Yayoi had a much easier time being a bride than the others. Speaking of which, she had to thank the child in her belly. Others are aware of Yayui's situation, and everyone is very considerate. Everyone gets a marriage certificate before getting pregnant, and they won't be laughed at no matter what time they hold the wedding, so of course everyone sends them their best wishes. Considering that Yayui's body should not be overworked, she just walked around with Yezikin, and then returned to the room to rest accompanied by Gong Qinli. Lu Li, we don't have to go out to receive those guests this afternoon. It's not as tiring as people say. I think it's good to have this wedding. I spoke several times but got no response. Normally, Gong Qinli would have talked to her for more than 10 words. She deliberately stopped and stood there, while Gong Qinli was still walking forward. Seeing Gong Qinli's absent-minded look, Yayui sighed deeply. I obviously care about it. In fact, Yayui has always refused to believe that Gong Qinli is so upright and completely regards Nangong Luo as a good friend. She always had expectations for the two of them to be together, but now, even Nangong Luo has given up. Because I have to give up. It's like saying that Beye can guard you and ran wholeheartedly for the rest of his life without having to accommodate for other things. But Nangong Luo can't. Nangong Luo is the only son of the Nangong family. He has feelings and responsibilities. He can spend all his youth on one person and entrust his inner emotions to one person, But he cannot stay with Gong Qinli for the rest of his life. Gong Qinli realized later that Ye Wei was not around. Yi, why did you go to the back? It's just that you've been distracted. Gong Qinli lowered her head and apologized, I'm sorry. Ye Wei sighed, shook his head and said, you are not sorry for me. Gong Qinli, I'm sorry for him. You haven't been sorry to brother Nangong either. But I rejected him, which made him lose face. Ye Wei asked back, do you think what brother Nangong cares about is the shame of being rejected on the spot? If so, he wouldn't do that. Knowing that it would be embarrassing to be rejected on that occasion, Nangong Luo didn't feel that it was a shame to confess his feelings. He has endured so much, and he dare not say it is because he is afraid of breaking the scene with Gong Qinli, but now he has forced himself into a dead corner. That is the way Nangong Luo chose to end it? Lu Li, have you really seen your heart clearly? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 998. Chapter 998. Don't be lovers, be friends. You are acting like a lovelorn girl now. Don't talk nonsense. I don't like him. I'm not in love. Then are you really mourning your lost brotherhood? This question was from a tricky angle, and she was speechless for a moment. Gong Qinli stubbornly believed, we can't be lovers, we can be friends. At this point, Ye Wei made it clear to her what she had been thinking about before, you want a man who likes you to be your friend, you are really big-hearted. Do we have to be in love to be together? Gong Qinli suddenly raised her voice, as if she was extremely sensitive to the sentence. The only one was frightened all night long. It wasn't that she was really frightened, but that Gong Qinli had too many emotions in that moment. It didn't look like she was angry, but she seemed to be rejecting something. Is she rejecting and drawing a line with Nangong Luo? Suddenly, even Ye Wei, who understands love, can't understand it? When things have developed to this point, Ye Wei, who is a bystander, can still say a few sober words, if you really have no intention of brother Nangong, that's fine, just take advantage of today's separation, and try not to meet again in the future, until everything calms down, let's talk about it when we can face each other as usual. How is that possible? But Gong Qinli's reaction was a bit fierce. Ye Wei raised his eyes to glance at her and asked, so Li Yulai, what do you want? Reject Nangong Luo's love, but also covet the love and warmth he gives you. No, how can you look at me like that? Lu Li, you two are my friends. I know your character very well. It is precisely because of this that I prefer that neither of you get hurt. If at this time, you are unable to respond to his feelings but will not if he lets go, he will be trapped in your control forever, reluctant to let go, never forget you, and never be able to get out. These words were like a gourd of cold water pouring from the top of her head, making Gong Qinli's entire body feel cold. Ye only knew that she had listened. Hatch Gong Qinli's arm with one hand and make sure she listens clearly and understands. Do you understand what I'm saying? Gong Qinli seemed to be frozen there, letting Ye Wei hold her hand and shake it gently. She understands. How could you not understand, according to Ye Wei's intention, if she keeps getting close to Nangong Luo and makes Nangong Luo fall into the abyss but cannot save himself, Nangong Luo's life will be ruined. I know what to do. I only hope that your heart will be like mine, and you will live up to my love. If you blame me for being ruthless in what I say, I really hope you can. It would be great if he could give Nangong Luo the affection he wanted. But there are many things in the world that cannot be fulfilled, just like her. Okay Li Yulai, don't be anxious, slowly figure out what to do, you still have time. Yu Yi was the only one who stayed by her side to help her. After clearing her thoughts, Gong Qinli's mind became clearer, but she still felt uncomfortable in her heart. After returning to the room, Gong Qinli sat there in a daze. She felt agitated, and she was not someone who could hold back things. After a while, she banged her hands on the table. I can't figure it out, it's very annoying. Are you so upset because you rejected brother Nangong? Then when Guchensi rejected you before, you still smiled heartlessly and happily. That's different. Why is it different? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 999. Chapter 999, You like Nangong Luo, but you don't admit it yourself. Nangong Luo likes you, and you like Guchensi. If you reject Nangong Luo, both of you will be sad. If Guchensi rejects you, neither of you will be sad. Li Yulai, have you really not thought about the reason? Duo, ask yourself, why? No need to ask, I know it myself. I am sad because I feel that the friendship we have had for so many years has deteriorated, and I am sad Gongkin Li fixed the reason for her sadness on one point, and argued for it. Nor willing to find another way to solve it. Ye Wei made all kinds of insinuations, and every sentence had an overtone. He almost didn't ask her directly, you like Nangong Luo but you don't want to admit it. The two of them struggled with the same topic for a long time. Ye Wei pressed his forehead, waved his hand and said, forget it, wait until you think about it. Gongkin Li looked depressed. Yi, you have been hinting to me a long time ago. Do you all know what Luo is thinking? Yes, anyone with a discerning eye can see how good brother Nangong is to you. It's your fault that you always argue with him. Then he always criticizes me. He has no masculinity or broad-mindedness at all. Yi Wei had to point it out, but you are very happy. Everyone has their own way of expressing feelings. For example, Yezikin never quarreled with others verbally, Guchensi didn't know how to treat others gently, and B couldn't learn to act cold. Similarly, when Nangong Luo quarreled with her, it was not to make her angry but to make her happy. Even Gongkin Li herself cannot deny this. The wedding ends after the dinner, the guests disperse, and everyone close to the groom follows the groom into the new home to celebrate the wedding. The bride is pregnant with Lyogia, so naturally no one can make excessive demands. At this time, it was the turn of the generous boss Ye to hit people with red envelopes. Secretary Zhao, who was a little confused after drinking, was also responsible for handing out red envelopes and having fun while doing so, just like the god of wealth who distributes money. Take it, take it. Don't fight or grab, we have everything, and no one will be left behind. We, Mr. Chen, are happy today, we have lots of red envelopes. Len Yangzi, who has been dealing with chores recently, finally stood up at the critical moment and pulled the wealth-spreading boy Secretary Zhao back. If you keep doing this, you can wait for your year-end bonus to be lost. What Secretary Zhao likes to talk about most is the year-end bonus. When he heard the three words year-end bonus, he felt as if he had been injected with chicken blood, and his whole body was filled with excitement. So Secretary Zhao did something very funny. He picked up all the boxes containing the red envelopes and protected the boxes as if they were guarding a calf to prevent others from banging them. Today, it's gone, we won't give it out. But some people just love the excitement and must let Secretary Zhao go away with the red envelope. Hey, we haven't received it yet. No more, our boss and his wife are going to bed, please go around and don't disturb us. Secretary Zhao said the sentence in confusion, and the whole audience was silent for 3 seconds, and laughed in unison, ha ha ha, brother, you are very strong. Len Yangzi, who was standing next to Secretary Zhao, turned her head away and covered the side of her face. He said that he really didn't know that Secretary Zhao, who was inferior to one person but superior to 10,000 people in the company, had such virtue. Ye Wei personally came out to distribute wedding candies to everyone. A child from an unknown family threw the round candies on the ground. Yewei, who didn't pay attention to the ground, suddenly stepped on them. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1000. Chapter 1000. The door caught my finger. Yewei personally came out to distribute wedding candies to everyone. A child from an unknown family threw the round candies on the ground, and no one noticed. Yewei's foot slipped. Boom. Fortunately, she had quick eyesight and quick hands to catch the threshold. Unknown to her, someone from behind the door knocked against her and pressed her finger directly. Pain. You pressed the bride's hand, let go. With so many people crowding around, Len Yangzi was the first to notice Yewei. When she heard her cry out in pain, her heart beat faster in fright. Yezikin, who was surrounded by a group of people, pushed through everyone around him, kicked the door with a dong sound, and pulled Yewei into his arms. He took hold of Yewei's wrist and found that the area where her fingers were pressed was very red. Guchensi, who had been outside, was invited in to check Yewei and apply medicine. The groom's official Yezikin blocked the door and asked, "Who did this?" Seeing that Yezikin's face was gloomy and terrifying, and his tone was even more severe, everyone stepped back unconsciously and crowded behind. No one wanted to admit it. The person who pressed the door naturally couldn't escape. At this time, a child in the front row dropped the candy in his hand and lowered his eyes. Yezikin naturally saw a half-broken candy where Yewei had been standing. Yezikin's eyes fell on the child, who was so frightened that the child ran to find his sister crying. The people who were still in trouble just now were quiet, and all dared to make it. Secretary Zhao, who was in a daze after drinking, suddenly sobered up for the most part because of his boss's efforts. No one in the audience was willing to say a word. Yewei, who was applying ointment, reluctantly told Guchensi to stop and walk to the door to whisper a few words to Yezikin. Yezikin looked around and reluctantly asked these people to disappear quickly. Yewei reassured him, "Brother, I'm fine. I'll be fine in a few days after I get the medicine." Yezikin refused to listen to her and asked Guchensi directly. Of course, Guchensi would not hide it for Yewei, but told the truth directly, "Although there is no bleeding, it will be enough to hurt you for a month." The area where he was pressed soon became a little green, with green and red intertwined, which looked painful. "She doesn't dare to touch it at all now." Guchensi took care of her and told her to apply medicine on time and try not to touch the water or take things. "The spare medicine you have here will be used temporarily. I will have someone deliver the ointment later." "Thanks. The important point has been said, and Guchensi will basically not respond again." Guchensi didn't want to stay long. He had no intention of making a fuss about the wedding, so of course he could just leave at this time. When he walked to the door, Yewei suddenly called him, "Li Yulai went to help me get something just now. He is probably coming over now. You seem to be on the same road. Please look after me." Guchensi paused slightly and left without replying after hearing these words. Yewei thought to himself, "Li Yulai, I can only help you up to this point. You defected so quickly." Certainly not. Gong Qinli is determined to pursue Guchensi, but now that she has rejected Nangong Luo, she can only help her sisters. Is it better after applying medicine? She endured the pain under her smile. "It feels cool, it doesn't hurt much, don't worry. You should be punished if you make a mistake, you shouldn't stop me. Today is a good day for us to hold our wedding. How can we be angry because of those people? Please stop being angry, okay? Don't move your hands." End of this chapter.